Partum the Mess, a podcast about humorous, inspirational, and educational experiences presented by first-time moms trying to navigate parenthood while keeping our sanity. I'm your host, Brittany, and we have our co-host, Cody.
Yay! Hi!
This is episode 11, and today we'll catch up with you and then discuss the topic of doula-ing and yoga. All right, so catching up. What's been going on, Cody?
So my husband and I started doing TikToks lately, and
by now you probably know this because they're famous.
we are so famous. No, we're not famous at all. And honestly, I was very opposed to doing it in the beginning because my husband came to me and he was like, I think he was joking, but I think there was seriousness.
He's like testing the waters.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So what do you think about me being a male stripper? Just kidding. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what it was like. He's like, do you want to do TikToks with me? And I was like, I don't know. No. But then finally I got a TikTok and watched some videos and sent them to him. And so we found some things that were at our skill level.
You guys are slamming. I mean, there's nothing better than keeping to my rigid nightly routine of laying in bed, staring at my phone, and watching your TikToks.
I'm glad and that's what I realized. I was like, these are fun, lighthearted ways to bond. And so that's what it came down to for me. So please don't make me TikTok famous because it will go right to my husband's head. And he will start. He sent me some like hip hop dance videos and I was like, absolutely not. These are professional dancers. And he's like, we just have to practice.
He's so optimistic.
No. You don't practice that. You're born with that.
He has so much faith in you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. He was like, you can break dance. I'm like, I cannot break dance. If I could break dance, I would break dance. That's awesome. I can't.
I wouldn't hide this from you.
Exactly. It's not like I'm this secretly really good. Yeah. Anyway. He's seen my moves and he knows they're bad. And for some reason, he thinks all I have to do is quote practice.
While you take care of your son and like all these other things. How much free time do you think? Oh my gosh. Well, I'm sure he knows how much free time now that you guys have had some
he sees.
home working. Yeah.
It's been cool. Like when we were isolating and he was home, we got so much time to see what really goes on in a day of my life. And he would take breaks and like come sit on the couch and I'd be like doing everything. And he was like, oh, I guess we're not going to talk. Do you take breaks? I'm like, do you take breaks?
Yeah. I wish I could work from home. Oh, wait, I do work from home.
Yeah. But I really work. No, he works too.
No, but I see what you're saying. Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
But it is a lot of work. So that's been fun. And we've done some fun things, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, I was thinking about isolation recently and how hard it was, especially at the beginning. And I mean, like a week or so into it, for the United States, of course, because we started, I think, later than other countries. Yeah. But at my home, we have divide, I guess, in personalities with like introverts or extroverts, and I'm pretty big extrovert. So, you know, if it was like 10 is like the most extroverted and 1's like the most introverted, I would say I'm like an 8.5 or something like that. But anyway, so it was really difficult, especially then at the beginning. And I was thinking about the ways that I was trying to connect with other people and just trying to do virtual games, which is funny because it's like, that's what video games are. I have this idea to like get people together and play games apart from each other
online
and then talk to each other while you do it. Yeah. I think this is gonna take off.
Yeah, get a patent on that.
Don't let me get famous because it's gonna go right to my head. Just kidding. Yeah, exactly. So it was fun thinking back to the beginning and thinking on all the creative ways that I was connecting with friends, because it was so important for me to connect with friends and we didn't have the opportunities to do so in person. Phil and I found ways, well, they were creative to me. They were right up his alley, right in his element of playing with friends online. But like, for example, we played with Jessica some games through a website. I can't remember the website, just a gaming website. And then would connect to a video call through like Google Duo or something like that. And it was so fun, and it still felt like a genuine connection. And it was good because it helped me see other ways that I could connect to people without being physically in their presence, and that was sorely needed for me, and a good thing that I can carry on now, even when we're able to reintegrate. But let's go ahead and transition to our product praise. I think that you have that today, Cody.
Yeah, I do. So we've been using the sippy cups that don't spill, but like they're I don't know what they're called. They have like a ring around them, and when you suck,
360.
The 360 sippy cup, yeah.
The Munchkin ones are the ones that we use, but I can't remember if that's the only brand. I doubt it, but that's the main one I've seen.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's the one we had too. And I just did not find them ideal for going out and traveling. They have like bulky handles, and
they don't go in pockets well.
Yeah, they don't go in pockets well. And if you push in on them, then they do spill.
Oh yeah,
because you lose the suction.
Right. Yeah. Whenever my kids throw them on the ground, as I'm sure you've experienced, the water it like floods the floor.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know how I had the idea that they were spill proof.
Yeah. Well, they are. If you tip them upside down, they won't spill.
Right, yeah.
But if you're hitting them, they lose that suction. And so we looked for a sippy cup or a water bottle-esque thing that we could take on the road, and we found this water bottle that's called a Nook.
That's how I say the brand.
Nook, yeah. NUK. And we'll post it
in the show notes.
On
the website.
It's awesome. We've loved it a lot. It has a button that you push that you have to push kind of harder than a toddler could push to get the spout up, and then it has like a straw. And I just felt like it was a good transition to water bottles, and it is pretty spill proof when the spout is down, and so that's really nice, and it's really portable. It's really good at fitting into pockets. It's pretty small.
I like it as well because and you've mentioned this before, but it's helpful to prevent it from getting dirty if the spout's in. Like,
yes.
The 360 cups are like a spout 360, you know, like it's got a lot more surface area where the kids can put their mouth on. And so when it falls on the ground, and if you're out and about, that's so terrible, so dirty. I mean, you know, so for it to fall on the ground, even in your car, it's like, ooh, how many things have been on the car floor and stuff. So it's really comforting, I'm sure, to know that you're protecting his mouth from even that.
For sure. Yeah, that has been super nice. And I think it's dishwasher safe. I don't think it is dishwasher safe and BPA free, which is nice as well to find a water bottle that I can just throw in the dishwasher and don't have to worry about hand washing.
And it's short enough. I'm sure it can go on the top rack if you wanted to, because I know lots of them that I have that say dishwasher safe are like 2 feet tall or something. And I'm like, what dishwasher is this going on? So that's awesome. There was something else I liked about it, but like when I've seen it, I think it was how you taught him to use a straw.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's I actually don't know how thick the straw is, but the spout is very firm. But I bet that's going to help him, because I've heard that straws help more than spouts with language development. I'm not sure why that happens, but that's what I've read when I was looking up like what's the best sippy cup or whatever to transition to after bottles. I've heard some debate about that was more recommended by like speech therapists and things like that. And so, you know, obviously we don't know the future, but it seems like he has really good muscles.
Yeah, he does have good muscles. He is, and maybe that's because he learned how to use the straw that spout has in it. It's a hardy spout.
Yeah,
you gotta.
That's a good way of putting it. It's
not like ridiculous.
No,
but it's also not a thin straw.
Yeah, exactly. I've only seen it when I watch him once a week, but it seems like it's a good fit for parents who are active and interested in being out of their house. If you are, I'm not really into camping, but I'm imagining if I was going to go camping, that would be something that I would feel comfortable taking, that could be dropped and things and it's not going to shatter. I don't know what, I think it's made out of, I was feeling the other day, it's not it's BPA free, but I don't know if it's plastic. But I mean, it's pretty thick.
It is plastic. It's just a BPA free
Yeah.
plastic. I think.
It's just really hardy.
Yeah.
So we recommend it if you're looking for a water bottle. And it's funny to me because water bottles seem like a very big kid thing, like an adult thing,
know,
you know. And
yeah.
I'm like, oh, look, I used to think, look at these parents trying to make their kids be like big kids, like, ooh, we don't have bottles, we have water bottles.
Yeah,
like they drink water. And I became a parent. I'm like, what was I thinking? You know,
Kids
like
need water too.
Yeah. All they drink are buoys and milk. Like, so.
Applesauce and rice cereal.
Yeah, seriously, that I made from scratch.
Yeah.
Pick the grains myself.
Yeah.
These misconceptions. Oh, the things we learn so quickly. All right, we'll go ahead and transition to our guest section. I'm really excited for tonight's guests. We have one actual guest and one supportive guest. We have tonight Phil, returning guest.
I'm here.
Yeah, so for all of you that has said that he has a soothing voice, you get more of
All
that.
one of you.
And then we have Elizabeth Rose, who was my doula as well as yoga instructor before I got pregnant and then also prenatal. So I'm really grateful to have you here, Elizabeth. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
So like I shared, Elizabeth teaches yoga. She taught my prenatal yoga class, and I learned about her providing doula services. And what would you call those? Doula-ing? Doula-ship?
Yeah,
Are those the terms? Doula-ing? Yeah, it's like dueling. Anyway, so she had introduced that there's a special course that I'd never heard of called a daddy birth coach class, and that is how we kind of got involved. But I'll go ahead and share more about her bio, and then we'll talk more about those services. So she's a mother of 3. Her children are 16, 15, and almost 13 years old. She has a business called Traveling Yoga Teacher, and as I said, she does yoga and is a doula. She's been teaching yoga for about 12 years, but was introduced to yoga at about age 17. She has accompanied about 32 births, and you can read more about her at travelingyogateacher.com. That's traveling with 2 L's. So I mentioned earlier the Daddy Birth Coaching class, and I'm going to read you a little bit about that class, and then Phil will help us kind of talk about that throughout if you talk more about that because he experienced it. So this course is really great. The purpose is to equip husbands to be the wife's number 1 birth coach, giving him the tools to assist mother through pregnancy, during birth, and beyond. You will learn yoga moves to help ease the everyday pains of pregnancy, yoga poses for labor, rebozo techniques to encourage optimal baby positionings for birth, breath work, couple meditations, and more. This is offered as a private class. So with that, I just wanted to share a little bit about our experience, if that's all right with that. And if I'm jumping the gun with anything, feel free to, whatever. But I really appreciated that class. And I think that was the most encouraging or enticing thing at the beginning. I didn't understand what a doula was, and I'm going to ask you to expand on that a little bit later. But I was excited about the idea of a daddy birth coaching class, and maybe it was because I was thinking, we've never been parents. Maybe she'll tell Phil everything he needs to know about being a father.
Not possible.
Fingers crossed.
with the daddy.
Yeah, with one class, right? I was like, so how many weeks is it? You're like, 1 hour. Oh,
I have to say, Elizabeth, you really let me down on that front.
Teaching all there is to know.
Everything there is to know about being a father.
Does anyone really ever get all there is to know about
Look,
being a
I was
father?
promised what I was promised.
Oh, it was.
By me. I
By
promised him
Brittany.
that.
By Brittany.
I promised that. Elizabeth did not false promise. So first, could you tell us and our listeners, like maybe in a nutshell, what a doula is?
Sure. Okay. So a doula is someone who assists a mother through her pregnancy and into her delivery. And there's 2 different types of birth doulas. There's a birth doula, and then there's a postpartum doula. And I specialize in birth doulaing. And so I do a little bit of postpartum work as well. As you know, I teach the postpartum yoga class, it's a mama baby class. But basically, what we do as doulas is we equip the mom to feel like she has the tools, both emotionally and physically, to experience birth. She's an emotional support. And the way that I differ from some other doulas is that I I have created the daddy birth coaching class to help the father be his wife's number one birth coach, which I feel is very important.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of dads want to be a support for their wives, but they don't really know exactly how. And so then they just feel overwhelmed, and maybe they feel like they're doing all the wrong things. So the class really helps to just help the father feel confident, and the mom will really appreciate it forever. That's what I found.
You know, there was concern about the father not being involved or how that works together. And I remember you saying that that was one of your primary goals, to help make sure, like, you make the father be involved, basically. Have you come across situations, though, when there isn't a father, like somebody wants you to be their doula and there isn't a partner in the picture?
I have had experiences where it was like a mother. So his father was in the military and was not here. So the mother took the daddy birth coaching class, and she was the mama birth coaching, the mama birth coach, and she did amazing. And it was a great bonding experience for them as well.
That's awesome. What a special role. I remember Cody saying, sharing with us in a previous episode, that her mom was a vital part. And even though I don't know if she did anything of that nature, she is just such an important role. And so I think that that's great that you can equip, sounds like, anyone with those tools.
She did a lot of coaching. My mom has assisted several births, so she coached me through it. And that's huge. It's huge to have someone who's not experiencing the pain that you're experiencing to kind of help you through breathing and staying focused on the right things.
I remember also you telling me that a lot of fathers are kind of standoffish at the idea, and then after hearing more about what you have to provide, they're more enthusiastic. And I thought, I don't know about my husband. He's going to beat the odds. Well, I'm here to tell you we didn't beat the odds.
What do you mean?
Like, I thought you would be just like those husbands who would say, I don't know. And then we would get together and hear more about the options. And you'd say, no, I don't think so. But you said, what? Do you remember what you told me?
No.
Okay. You said, I think this will help you feel less anxious, and basically whatever we can do to have that happen, I want to support that.
Well,
so
yeah.
Sweet.
I mean, that was like the main reason.
Yeah, that's
right?
what I'm saying. But if
none of that was for me.
That's what I'm saying. But then the daddy birthing class came, and I'm interested to know how that was, because you were there witnessing it. You were teaching us, and I was more or less the recipient of all the love. But like, as a father, how was it for you? I mean, it's been almost, I don't know how long it's been. A while. 2 years? I don't know.
Yeah, about 1.5 years, right?
Yeah. You may not remember well, and I don't want to put you on the spot.
The thing that I remember was just wanting you to be as comfortable as possible, because that was way out of my comfort zone. Like the things that Elizabeth was teaching us, and the things that I was expected to do was really strange in my eyes. But I had to trust Elizabeth as your doula, and I had to trust you with your knowledge also in yoga, which I have basically none of, right?
He just likes to say words like doga, boga, like baby's yoga, dog yoga, goga.
It works for everything.
I know.
But it was interesting seeing some of the rebozo techniques that helped even right on the spot, which I guess is
I was going to say, Elizabeth, do you want to explain that?
Sure. Yeah. So the rebozo is a Mayan midwife. It's a Mayan scarf, actually, that midwives have used for so many years, and doulas as well. And there's techniques that we use through, like if you've ever heard of spinning babies, there's many things that we can do with the rebozo to help to alleviate some pain that the mom might be feeling in her stomach or in her hips. It also helps to encourage baby into optimal positioning. So there's different techniques that we do that feels amazing. And you can vouch for that.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, and of course, you had 2 in there, and I think that having that extra relief with those techniques seemed helpful to you when we were doing it. I remember with the one that was where you were on your hands and knees, and I was essentially pulling up
Oh, right.
from underneath your stomach to take some of that weight off and do the, the jiggles, and to help position the
Rebozo?
babies.
Yeah.
And I just remember you going, oh, like it just feels so good, and suddenly like I just, it's me bearing that weight of the pregnancy, and it just allowed you to kind of relax for a short while, and that was nice to be able to help you in that way, because on the large for the whole pregnancy, I didn't really like do anything, right? Like you had to carry the weight, and you had to
That's
literally
yeah,
carry the weight.
exactly. And you had to eat well, I could still eat like crap all I wanted. And there's so much effort that the mother puts in.
If it was up to me, we'd have nachos every night, but
we can.
then
I'd be okay with that. And so it was nice to be able to offer my help in some of those ways.
yeah.
Do you feel like, so getting into the class, you said you kind of did it to help Brittany feel comfortable and feel calm, but do you feel like in retrospect it was really helpful for you? So, I mean, did you get to take away something for yourself that you apply now, or that you applied in birth, or that you'll apply next time?
Well, it was difficult to apply any of it in birth because Brittany went into labor so fast and so quickly was wheeled in the OR and then was put under.
Yeah.
So, I didn't really have an opportunity to do breathing exercises or yoga poses or whatever like Elizabeth had taught us. But
I hate to say this because it like kind of doesn't shine a great light on me either. We could have prepared better. There was things that she told us like, do your homework, and she gave us some things, and I remember being in there and she said, did you guys do your homework? We hadn't done it, and so this is a testimonial like that probably would have helped. It was things like thinking of happy times that we'd had together. And so then in the moment when Phil was saying, what's something happy, I'm like, I hate everyone. I wasn't like not really bringing good vibes. And so that's something that I hope we remember for the next child, which this isn't like an announcement, but I just mean when we're, no matter what the delivery method is, that we're able to recall those things more or less on the spot. And so I think there was a lot of guidance and wisdom that Elizabeth gave us, and toward I don't remember how far along we took the class, but she was available throughout and accessible like virtually as well. And so that was helpful to get guidance and inquiries. And then especially at the very end when my water broke, but I wasn't really sure what was going on, and I called you and you said, yes, you need to call your doctor. And I'm like, that's so weird, you're the third person who's told me that. I wonder what I should do, and I wasn't really thinking straight, but you were able, I assume, maybe you can tell me if this is accurate, but it's probably a lot easier for you to be level-headed if you're not the one in labor. I mean, like, it's probably, in your experience, is that accurate? Like, you're able to help keep a calm space as much as possible for the mom and dad?
Yeah, it's similar to teaching yoga. As a yoga teacher, it's our job to create an ambiance, a space in the room, and to hold certain essence, I guess. And same thing as a doula, we do that for our clients,
Yeah.
In the birthing room, it's important to try to create that ambiance and pause. Okay, let's reflect on all of our options. We don't have to rush in. How are you feeling about this?
Right.
So.
Yeah.
So what do you feel like as a doula, when people are looking to find a doula, what are some important questions to ask to see if it's a good fit?
Yes. So you should definitely do a consultation with whomever you're thinking about hiring. You want to know their philosophy, or like what their approach on being a doula is. Like I had told you before, mine is that I really want to create union between the husband and the wife during the birth experience, because it's very important that she feels safe and that the husband feels like he's part of this experience as well. So kind of asking the doula what her take on it is, like what she feels she can bring to this experience for you, how many births she's participated in, how long she's a doula. Is she certified in other things like spinning babies? And does she teach yoga? That's a really awesome thing to have if the doula can teach prenatal poses during your pregnancy. And that's one thing that I do require all my clients to practice with me, whether it's in my prenatal class or in private lessons. I don't take every client that comes my way because I feel like it's part of the experience for me. Is that
for sure.
Connection, body connection. And I feel like working with my client throughout their pregnancy really helps them to feel safe with me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, at least that's how I felt.
Yeah.
I appreciated that she told me if you have a birth in, say, December, that's the only birth, like, due date that she accepts.
Oh.
And so, I mean, I kind of like encroached in the other mom's month because my kids came early, but theoretically.
Couldn't you have just held them in?
I know. I only needed like, I don't know, 11 days or something. Yeah, my apologies to her. But I just appreciated that, like you said, the connection and the time that you're willing to give, that it makes it much more of a safe feeling. I was listening to a live, I think it was on Instagram, of a page, and they were talking about the impact of having a positive birth experience in your life. Ideally, every birth is positive, but how impactful it is not if you have had births and you don't have any of them be a positive experience, and that kind of association and the trauma that may be stored in your body because of it. And I feel like my birth experience might have caused me some trauma in ways because I couldn't foresee it. And as you know, Elizabeth, I was very big into planning and trying to figure out like every possible outcome, which is a difficult thing to do in any pregnancy, but with multiples, they just couldn't tell me very much. And so it was, I think, having your guidance through the time, I can't recall when we signed up with you, but having, whenever that was, the guidance all through up until the delivery day, I think it made me feel much more comfortable overall. I don't think, it's hard to speculate, but I suspect I would have been more anxious not knowing, like you guided us through making a birth plan, and there were so many things I didn't know. I didn't know what an episiotomy was, or there was something else I remember. I think you explained what maybe Pitocin, is that Pitocin, yeah. But like I've told you guys, I'm like, is that a psychiatric drug? Because they're like all these terms floating around in my head, and I'm like, never can keep them straight. But anyway, yeah, there was just so many things I didn't know, and we've talked a lot outside of the podcast about birth experiences or about preparing for future ones or whatever, and just things like Jessica is our other co-host, who's obviously not here tonight, but we have such different backgrounds, and she's really big into research, and you've had a lot of siblings that have had it, and you were going to do a home birth, and I of course had twins and had like the least amount of knowledge, and so I just feel like it's been really helpful. But up until my birth and experience with you, I had no idea. I just thought things just happen, like the babies just kind of come out somehow. I mean, it hurts a lot, but you know. And so I was so grateful for that education, and that you didn't display, like, as you're giving that information, you didn't display it in a condescending way. And maybe that's like doulaing 101, but without knowing anything. I mean, I appreciate that it wasn't like or condescending at all. So good job on that. Thank you.
I remember thinking in the very beginning of my pregnancy, buying books like Fearless Birth and watching home births and talking to people about how to deliver without fear. And after having gone through a delivery, I don't understand how that's possible. And I had a wonderful doula, and we did a lot of different things that could help minimize fear, but I still don't know, is it normal to feel fear while you're delivering? And if not, then what do we do? You know, like if it's not a normal thing, then I need to know how to fix it, because I felt a lot of fear.
Do you mean, is it normal, or is it like,
is it normal?
Is it possible to not?
Is it normal? Is it something that should be a part of delivering and going through birth experience? Is fear normal?
Well, that's a really great question. I feel like when we're in pain, even when we're not pregnant, it's like we get scared of pain.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So nervous system goes into like shock. We're like, oh, ow, that doesn't feel good. And we want to get out. And even in yoga poses that we get in, I can tell you, we've gotten into some poses that are pretty deep, like yen poses, and it asks you to become more flexible, right? And you hold these poses, and it's like, I don't want to be in this pose. It hurts, and our shoulders start to scrunch up towards our ears, and our forehead scrunches up, and we start to hold our breath, and that's when we lose control, right? We go into our fear, and with yoga, we're able to learn how to breathe and calm our nervous system. So there's a certain breath technique that I teach all my clients called rhythmic breath. And it is a really simple breath technique, but if you practice throughout your whole pregnancy, when you go into labor, you just kind of tune into that breath pattern. And you are able to calm your nervous system, relax your body so that the contractions can work for you, you know, and you're not seeing them, you're breathing into it. And you have actually more control over your experience.
So I think that one of the greatest combatants against fear is knowledge, right? Like if you know what to expect or you know what you can expect, what might happen. I think that's a really good way to not be afraid. And I think Elizabeth provided a lot of that for Brittany, because I certainly didn't know what the heck was going on. But Elizabeth had all the knowledge and the past clients and all the experience and everything that she could give Brittany the information that Brittany needed to calm her down.
At least as much as humanly possible.
Well, sure. But I mean, like in
We
another
don't know
example.
what to predict when every birth experience is different. And Brittany and Philip have another baby, it could be a completely different experience, right?
Yeah.
And so we just go into it with an open mind, and we have tools, you know, like the breath work and the meditations and mantras. I like to have my moms create mantra cards like on pieces of paper. And a really great idea is to have like your friends over for like a party while you're pregnant and have each one of them write like a mantra for you, like maybe make it pretty. And then when the mother goes into labor, you can post it on the hospital wall. And so when a mom goes into her contraction, she can just focus on her breath work, and she can just focus. In yoga, we call our focus drishti. She can just focus on the mantra and repeat it in her mind through the contraction.
And I think that that's another kind of interesting thing that I'll use to tie in the birth plan. If you had asked me whether the hospital would allow it or if it was possible to hang up a bunch of mantras in the room, you know, I would have been like, no, they probably wouldn't allow that. This is like a tightly, you know, tight ship, you know, it's a well-oiled machine. But that was another thing, is like the birth plan that Elizabeth helped Brittany create. It gave her ideas of what was even possible. What could we do?
I think that was helpful with my doula too. Yeah,
we could request essential oils to be there.
We could ask about it.
Sure.
I wanted that, but it was like a tub. Oh, what? Like I didn't know that was a thing. Or shower.
Yeah.
You know, not miserable in a bed the whole time.
You could turn down the lights, or you could do this or play this music or whatever. But before that experience of creating the birth plan, I would have been like, no, you get wheeled in and you do whatever the hospital says, because they're the ship, you know, they're the captains. And of course we couldn't drive the ship, but there were a lot of options that we had to help with that experience, to help you feel more comfortable, to help the experience go smoother for you, whether that was all psychological, it didn't matter. That was what we created that gave you some safe space, some personal comfort. And I think without having Elizabeth there to help us do that, we would never have had any of that stuff. And of course, for us, a lot of that ended up not being possible because of how it all played out.
But I think it made the whole experience up until the delivery bearable.
Yes.
Like who knows what it would have been like.
Right.
What were you going to say?
Yeah. I was going to say, I think that brought me a lot of comfort, just knowing that I think it was my doula that said, you don't have to get anything. If you don't want Pitocin, you can say no to Pitocin. They may, you know, X, Y, and Z because of that, but you don't have to say yes to this. You don't have to say yes to an episiotomy. you and your husband and your birth team, you go, you weigh the pros and cons, and then you make a decision. And that wasn't something that I understood before we'd had that conversation. And so I thought, what's the point of making a birth plan if I just go in the hospital and I'm a test subject that they do whatever they want with?
Yeah.
Who cares? But yeah, realizing that you really do have options and understanding birth plans should be flexible, in my opinion, but knowing the circumstances that would make it to where you would want to make a different decision, travel off of that birth plan, were really good for me, because then when we were in the moment, I could say, okay, we said if XYZ happen, then we'll go with this decision. And I felt so much more comfortable knowing I made that choice.
Yeah, being your voice. Doulas are amazing because when the couple is in this experience, it's there's a lot of new, right?
Yeah.
And you don't know how to navigate. And like Phil said, like a lot of people just go along with the protocol.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we do. And I hate to say this, but because I have a lot of friends who are nurses as well, but sometimes they become a little like, they get a little, I don't want to say numb, but like they can kind of think of you as more like a number, like I'm coming into this room, then I'm going into this room, and then they're less connected to the client in that sense. And so a doula is able to kind of create that pause, like, okay, this is what my client was like. And first of all, you should always say, as a doula, have you seen the birth plan, before when a new nurse comes in, just to make sure everyone's on the same page. And she's able to be that voice for the couple, and mediate, essentially.
I love that. I love that conceptually and in application, because I know, at least for us, because this is all we can base on being a first-time parent, that it is scary to, well, Cody's pretty confident. Sometimes, though, I think about, what if they tell me no and I don't know what to say next? And then what if I cry? And then what if? Like, there's a lot of, like, well, what if I get enough confidence to ask for this and it's not possible? Like, you just, like we said, we already said we don't know what's possible. And so I liked that idea that I didn't have to worry about being friendly or not being friendly or putting on a face or whatever, that like, because I didn't know how I would be, that I could be how I was genuinely. And I mean, I felt like I tried to be polite, but it wasn't about like making friends at that time, like getting people on your Christmas card list or something. You were going to have a baby or two. And so I liked knowing that the negotiation, so to speak, would be sorted out by somebody not involved. Like, not even my husband has to try to figure it out. Like, the things that we had to figure out beforehand, like how to get there, or for Phil to know how to drive me to the hospital. It was important to me that he knew, because I didn't know how I would be. But even fathers, and maybe sometimes more, can be hysterical than the wife, or the mother, I should say. And so I loved knowing that I would have you there, and I wouldn't have to worry about my doctor relationship, because what if my doctor's gone? Like, you're the constant, no matter who else on the medical team. And even though I did get my doctor, and everybody was really respectful as far as I've heard, because I was out. That,
while you were out, yes, they were all very respectful.
But just that fact of knowing that you're on the mother's team, I'm sure for other moms too, but brought me a lot of solace, and I'm sure for Cody, for your experience with your doula.
Yeah, because I did not have the same medical professional that I had throughout my entire pregnancy, because I had a midwife, and then I went to the hospital and had a doctor. And so having my doula there as a constant throughout all the chaos was so helpful. On a different note, I think it's good to maybe help some people out there who have not had experience with a doula understand a misconception that I had when I got a doula, that they do not make decisions for you. And that was something I didn't understand until while working with my doula. Do you get that misconception ever, that people think you're going to speak on their behalf?
So when I do the consults with my clients, we go over, I have actually a contract that says it all.
Yeah.
That I'm not, like, I can't make decisions legally for my clients at all. Everything that's on the birth plan, however, I can make sure that the doctor and the staff is on board. And if you're trying to do something that isn't on the birth plan, then I can reassure them that this is not on the birth plan, or that's the only time that I've had to actually step in is like, well, this is what my client would prefer. Or, I've had other situations, but what I like to do with my first clients, if I've never gone to the doctor, if I've never met their doctor, I like to meet their doctor. So what we do is we create a birth plan together during our first session. And then I will go with my client to see the doctor and go over the birth plan with the doctor so that the doctor knows who I am, and we can just get everything out onto the table. If there's any questions, just making sure the doctor is okay with the birth plan, and then the doctor can put it in his notes and he has it.
Yeah.
And then I always make sure to make 3 copies that I bring to the hospital, and I have the staff look over. I have everyone look over.
Very cool.
Are there ever cases where somebody wouldn't benefit from a doula?
That's a good question. I had a client one time who asked me to be her doula for her 13th baby. I think you might actually know her.
Oh, do I know anyone who has had 13 kids? Wow.
She was pregnant at the same time you were during prenatal. She actually asked me to be her birth doula for her 13th baby. And I was like, you don't need a doula. Like, baby 12 times. So I don't understand. And she was like, I just really want your presence. I want your energy in my space when I'm having my baby, which meant a lot to me. We had like a room full of all of her daughters who were like teenagers, and she had her midwife, and she had a really great support system. Her husband, so I think that it just depends. I think that really everyone needs to interview their doula, and it has to be you should feel a connection with your doula. I think that's very important.
Yeah.
That connection.
I think my last question is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners about being able to invite calm if you're feeling anxiety or apprehension or anything toward your delivery? And I mean, because in episode 6, Cody talks about a clinical level of anxiety, and that might be a whole nother ball game. So more of the apprehension level of anxiety. If somebody's feeling that, do you have any other techniques or tips that would be easy to explain over audio?
Sure. The number one tool that I use for myself when I'm feeling anxiety, or I also teach high school yoga. Now that everything's virtual, we're doing virtual classes online with all my students at the school that I teach at. And we just focused on breath work today. Actually, I do it Tuesday and Thursday. And they really benefited from it. They were like, we did the rhythmic breath, just like I do with my mom's. And there's another technique called alternate nostril breath that balances the nervous system. And afterwards, they were just like, oh my gosh, I needed that so much right now. So anxiety, when we're pregnant, anxiety when we're not pregnant, we have it. It's just, as human beings, we get anxiety, and breath work is the number one tool. Because when we're stressed, we're not breathing. We're breathing very shallowly in our chest, right?
Right.
Or sometimes we stop breathing, and then we're like, oh my gosh, maybe we're not even noticing that we're not breathing, I know I do it, even as a yoga teacher. So it's just important to learn these breath techniques. And then, of course, yoga. Gentle, you don't have to be super flexible. That's a misconception. I have to be flexible to do yoga. No. Everybody can do yoga. There's all types of yoga. Gentle yoga is a technique that I teach, actually, and it's just moving the body with the rhythm of your breath. So movement linked with proper breath.
So I have one more question related to yoga. I've heard this, and I'm wondering if it's a misconception. I've heard from different yoga studios or companies not to start yoga in your first trimester, not because yoga is dangerous, but because of the higher risk of losing a child in those first few weeks. And so I'm wondering if that is a misconception, that's just sort of a covering our bases disclaimer, or if that's pretty widely professed.
I think that everyone has to listen to their own body. I can't really give an answer to that question. I think that everyone has to tune in to their own experience. And I've had clients who do come who are new to yoga and who have been practicing yoga their whole life. I will say that if they do practice yoga like their whole life, it does change. The practice looks very different, right?
Right.
You're not doing handstands and, downward dogs. I don't ever teach downward dogs to my clients unless their baby is breached. And then I will have my client in downward facing dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a whole nother thing that, I have a whole nother toolbox for that experience. So it's just, everyone has to tune into their own body and their own experience.
But it's okay if moms are wanting to do yoga during the pregnancy and they've never done yoga, they can incorporate it if it's in a safe space, they feel confident and all that. But that's good to know, because I know of some moms
who don't want to be doing it when we're pregnant. There's many poses that we want to steer away from when we're pregnant. Like we don't want to be doing twists or going upside down,
right.
anything.
Cirque du Soleil pose.
Upward facing dog. Mindful movements.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. Well, I wanted to also reference, you mentioned your online classes with your students, and Elizabeth is also teaching semi-private online or virtual, it's the same thing, but classes right now during the time of the coronavirus. I don't know how long you'll do it. No one knows how long this will go, but if that's something that you are interested in, that's great, because then you don't have to even be in the same state that she is. And then also, that's good news for all of you interested in her daddy birth coaching class who aren't around. And I assume that this is available even when the virus ends. You'd be able to do a virtual course. Is that correct? So her course is $95. Now, if for somebody who you've taken on as a client, is that an additional $95 or part of the cost of doulaing?
That's a really great question. So it's actually, if they hire me as their birth doula, it is our second session, and it's included in the birth package.
Great. Oh, I should mention, sorry, the $95 is live, but when you're virtually doing it, it's $45. Is that correct?
Correct. During the time of the corona, because everything has changed,
right.
I want to provide more services for that price.
That's so great. We really appreciate so many people doing things like that. So we want to thank you for your wisdom and knowledge and sharing it with us and sharing your time with us. We both appreciated our doulas, and I should say all three of us. I don't know what the version of
Absolutely.
three is. Your doula as well.
Heck yeah.
Well, thank you all for listening. We appreciate you tuning in, and we want to remind you that you can find Elizabeth on her website, traveling with 2 L's, travelingyogateacher.com. And then also you can find her on Instagram at the same Traveling Yoga Teacher. She is also part of a company of yoga teachers, 3B Yoga in Utah. So you can find virtual classes there on their website at 3byogautah.com. They have a lot of classes for different skill level and then also different ages. Like they have a kids yoga and, like we already talked about, prenatal yoga. And are they doing a postnatal right now, Elizabeth?
No.
Okay, so they're not, but normally they do. So if you're in Utah County around Orem Provo, that's a really great studio to go for your yoga needs. And because no one likes planning dinner, we'll leave you with a recipe to try this week, shared by Cody.
All right, so for today's recipe, I have found one that we love in our house, and it's a little bit more fancy. I think it's something that you could cook for company, but I'm not a huge fish lover, and so any recipe where I can incorporate seafood that I don't feel like it tastes extraordinarily like fish, I like to go with. So this is a grilled salmon with mango salsa and a coconut rice in this recipe. We followed everything exactly, except for sometimes I'll make my own rice that's just a regular rice and quinoa mixed with garlic. But you can do the coconut rice as well. They're both good. And then I would say make sure to marinate the salmon. I find the longer you marinate, so
give it a couple of extra hours of marinating, and then the flavors that you're marinating it with really come through well. And we always make extra of the salsa as well because it stays pretty good the next day. It does have avocados, and I was really worried the first time we made the salsa that it wouldn't last through the night. But I think because of the lime juice, it does last okay, and we're able to use it the next day in taco salad or just with chips because it's so good. There have been a couple times I've just made the mango salsa by itself just as a side dish for a party. So you don't have to eat it with just salmon, but this is one of our favorites as a family. And we love it. We love the taste of all of the flavors combined together. So it's a good one.
Okay, thanks, Cody. Be sure to catch our next episode, which was recorded via Facebook Live event we hosted on our page, talking about the effects of COVID-19 on our families. What you'll hear next week is the audio recording of that. Be sure to check us out at our website, partumthemess.com, to catch the show notes and the recipe that Cody just shared. As well as on social media, we're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Partum the Mess. Thank you for listening. Join us next week.
And Partum the Mess.
We're making memories.